Hi, I'm Ryan, and this is Marlborough Minute here in your city, where we bring you quick stories about what's going on. And I have a very special guest with me today. His name is Zach. He's been coming into the studio for a few months now, taking full advantage of all of the wonderful facilities and the tools that we have at our disposal. But Zach, most importantly, has a feature-length film that he's submitting to different festivals, and he's here to tell me about it right now.
Yes, I am. I'm very excited to be here. I love to be in the studio. It's a wonderful studio. If you haven't used the resources down here at WMCT, you should do that, because if you live in town, you can come make your own show, or make your own movie.
Before we talk about your movie,
Yeah.
I want to learn a little bit more about Zach.
Sure.
And when I first got an email from you, it was from Melodious Zach, and I know that's a bit of a stage persona.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about what you do, because there's a lot.
Sure. So Melodious Zach, I started using that stage name probably about 2017 to 2018, and it was just because I needed a more marketable name. My real name is, there's a lot of me's out there. I even saw, I think there's someone with my name on one of the new Survivor shows. Oh. So these days, in the olden times, that wouldn't really matter so much. But now when you're able to, search anyone on the net and cross-index and everything, you kind of want to have your own, stage name. So I started doing Melodious Zach, and that was because my biggest crowd-pleasing song was a song called "Oh Melodious Song."
And it's a hit. It's a bop.
It is. And I thought, oh, Melodious Zach, okay, that sounds good, and I'll just stick with it, and I'm going to change it one time, so I'm not ever going to become, just MZ or M Diddy, or Z Diddy.
Now, for those people who haven't seen, you do music videos, you do sketch comedy,
Sure.
You do clowning,
Yeah.
You perform for families and children, and how? And how did it all begin? Were you always a performer? Were you always did you grow up doing community theater, or how did you get started?
So, if we want to go really way back, so when I was a baby, my mom...
Were you a star child?
No. Well, okay, so
a baby model?
I played the baby Jesus in Nativity.
Oh.
Yes. That was my first role, but I didn't know what I was doing. So my mom was a conductor for the local high school musicals. Mm-hmm. So I would, be with, because, she's my mom. I'd be with her as a baby, as we worked on the musical. So there was that, and, we had local friends that were really into theater and the music scene around town. And when I say theater and the music scene, I don't mean, like we're playing clubs and stuff. This is a rural area, so it was kind of like you said, community theater, or the local schools. That was the resource, and this was in New Hampshire. And nothing against New Hampshire, but Massachusetts has, the arts are a little differently allocated. Anyhow, so my mom was a music teacher as well, and my dad had a video camera, so I was often, making monkey shines for the video camera, and later on, of course, watching it again. So, I grew up, but in school and in those kind of settings, I was very quiet, and, because I'm an ambivert. There's a part of me that's, nice to meet you. And then there's the other part, I just want to, crawl into an attic for a year.
So mother is very musical, father has a video bug, and that just sort of fostered all of these wonderful creative skills?
Yes. So my dad was a drummer, so he had done music too, and my mom had done that in school. And they also had me do dance lessons when I was a kid. It was jazz and tap. I only did it for about a year or two. Mm-hmm. My older sisters did it as well. So we always had the outfits, with the sequins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get the professional photos too?
Oh, yeah. There's one of me as Elvis. That was for Hound Dog.
Ooh.
Yeah. That was a good one. So I did that, and then eventually my, these two identities, me at home and me at school, they had to merge. So that happened in high school, because I wasn't doing well in school, and I think part of it was because you weren't being authentic.
Mm.
Yeah, I was kind of closing myself off, And when you do that, you cut off a lot of possibilities.
Sure.
Now, that's not to say that you can't learn anything new or you can't change who you are. You absolutely can.
You can reinvent, yeah.
That's right. That's right. But they finally melded. So I started doing theater this was at St. Bonnie School, which is a non-denominational and non-prep school in New Hampshire.
Which you wouldn't know from the name.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So it's near an ashram. It's right near an ashram. So I went there, and they had an awesome theater. It was a small school. We had a high school of about 60 people, 60 kids.
Total.
Yep. And my graduating class was about
12.
16. Yep. Wow. Yeah. So I did the musicals there, and I felt like a hot shot.
Did you star?
Yes. So I started, title role, Bye Bye Birdie, because the star of that show is really,
is it Conrad or Albert?
Oh, I was Conrad. So the star is Albert.
Yeah.
But most people think that Conrad's the star, but
that's what they think.
He's the title character. And I got a couple acting awards.
Nice.
My senior year. Then I went to college, didn't do any theater, but kept up with the music. And I had a band, and I just kept going. The music was the one thing that I just got to keep doing that. I got to keep doing this. And the comedy part and all the rest, like any sort of showmanship that was outside of I'm just going to play a song or I'm just going to record a song, I wasn't interested in. And a few years later, I discovered that I had OCD, and I think that might have been part of it. Like, I only do it this way or I only do it that way. And oh man, I wish I'd known sooner, because you and I'd be doing this interview on a yacht together.
Wow.
WMCT would be like, it would be palatial, have a palatial studio.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We can dream.
Right. Gosh, I'm sorry. I'm just babbling on.
So you took a break in college.
Yes.
You kept up with the music.
Yeah.
And when I was first introduced to you, I know that you were doing a lot of performances specifically geared towards families and young people. When did that come about?
So I always wanted to make sure my music was, accessible to everybody. I just think it opens up your audience more. So if there's a reason to, sometimes there's reasons.
But just because something is clean and accessible,
right,
doesn't diminish it in any way.
Right.
The last song that you produced, you did a great music video for. What's the title of it?
Our Time Has Passed.
Our Time Has Passed.
Yeah.
With this Maroon 5 meets Andrew Bird vibes.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's really a very catchy song for any listener. And I think that's sort of the appeal of pop music in general, is that you want the kids listening to it, but you want their parents to be able to enjoy it as well.
Exactly. I like to make music that people might be able to whistle later or hum later. Something that's catchy. And like you said, it doesn't. I like making things that everybody can see, but I don't like to dumb it down.
No, you're not playing down.
Right. Exactly. I don't know if I'm playing up, but I'm playing somewhere, and I'm not trying. I don't want to talk down because,
Well, no, that's something I've seen my fair amount of children's theater, meaning theater for children.
Right.
And the most successful children's theater is a theater that treats them like mini adults.
Yep.
Where you give them the benefit of being able to understand a joke, being able to understand the arc of a plot, and you give them the performance that an adult deserves.
Exactly.
And as a result, the parents enjoy the show just as much, if not more.
Right. And there's, at least from what I've seen, there's not a ton of, at least in the mainstream entertainment, there seems to be this kind of gap. It's kind of like a big horseshoe, it seems like right now. There's a lot of programs just for kids, and you can tell it's just for kids.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff that's for adults, and you can tell it's for adults. And there's this kind of middle ground, like Pixar sometimes makes movies that are kind of in the middle ground, like, oh, we can all watch it. Like The Incredibles, that demographic, people watching that, they're 60 years old, they're 6 years old, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They're all getting something out of it. So that's the type of stuff I like to make. And I'm sorry, I don't even know if I answered your question.
I don't know either. I said that you do clowning, and I
Yeah.
hope that didn't offend you,
Nope.
because I think of clowning as an art form,
Yeah.
and a very broad art form. And I'm not talking about clowns in whiteface like Marceau Marceau and a big red smile. I'm talking about physical comedy and slapstick, and taking it back. Some of the things you do remind me of Buster Keaton and silent film era stars. And you'll see it, you witness it in the movie, which is really special. Just the way you've chosen to run in certain scenes, and the theatricality of it is clowning. Mm-hmm. Is that who are your performing inspirations?
So when I was little, I loved Laurel and Hardy, and I liked the Three Stooges, but the Laurel and Hardy were like my favorite.
Right.
And I got a little older, and
Which ones in particular? Are you talking like Babes in Toyland and Jack and the Beanstalk, or?
Okay. So,
because those are my favorite.
Babes in Toyland, Laurel and Hardy is amazing.
Or March of the Wooden Soldiers.
March of the Wooden Soldiers, as it may be known to some. But I also like the shorts. I love the piano, the one where they move the piano up the hill. I think it's just called The Piano Movers.
Okay.
That was really good. So I was doing.
It's probably public domain. Hopefully, we can roll some of that
stuff
over here.
Yeah, some of that stuff is the Hal Roach Studio.
Okay.
Hal Roach Studio. So I grew up on that, and I loved to. When I played outside, I had two older sisters that were, the nearest one was 6 years older than me. So you know how boys can be very physical. And they didn't want to play with me like that, so I had to, myself around, and I would be a superhero, and someone would be punching me, and and not to say that all slapstick is violent, but there's a lot of that I did as a kid just for fun. And now, I turned the camera on.
Yep, and I saw you have. Should we introduce your co-star that we have right here?
Yeah. So this is Dave, and
hold him up to you.
Sure. Yeah, he's a little shy today, so he's not going to be doing any talking today. But Dave is played in the film by my best friend Dave, who I met in college at Keene State. And he is my little friend, and he starts out as a person, as you'll see in the film, but he ends up like this. How does he end up like this? You'll have to watch the movie. And will he turn back? You'll have to watch the movie. But this is David Allen.
And speaking of that slapstick that you practice, there's an epic fight scene that you have with your friend here.
Yes.
I won't give too much away. I think it even goes in reverse at one point.
It does.
It's great.
It's over. Yes, it's over a female, but you'll have to see the film again to witness the full thing.
Okay, we're talking about the film now. What's the name of it? When did you start working on it? Is it a musical? What's the genre here? Because it's sci-fi, it's original music, it is adventure time. It's everything we love.
So the movie is called Oh Melodious Movie Side 1. It's called Side 1 in reference to, a vinyl record. You got Side 1 and then you flip it over to Side 2. So it's part 1 of 2. I technically started working on it in about 2017. That's when we shot the opening scene, and at the time I didn't know it was going to be a movie because it was part of my TV show called Oh Melodious Show. So in the show, there'd be sketches, there'd be music videos, and there'd be this ongoing plot. And the ongoing plot, when the pandemic hit and I moved to Massachusetts, so I was out of Keene, a lot of things changed in a lot of people's lives. So I thought, okay, I can compile the plot from this movie, from the TV series, put it all together, and make a feature out of it. And which is not, technically a completely original idea. They used to do that all the time. They package films,
sure.
or they take a couple TV episodes and stick them together. So that's what I started doing, and the footage from the TV versions, there's like a watermark with this TV shows. So I went back to the original SD card, not the original film, but the original SD card. And started compiling all this, and I'm putting it together, and I'm learning how to make a movie along the way. So that's in 2020. So I'm learning how to make a movie along the way. I'm learning about ADR, automatic dialogue recording. I learned that I need to use a better microphone on the next film I do. I learned about color correction. I learned about color grading.
Yeah.
I cleaned up all the audio. I did a score for the movie. I watched it, and actually did it the kind of the cheap and quick and dirty way. Is what I would do is watch a scene, or I'd be thinking about the scene, and then I'd get a melody that came into my head, which is how most of the time how they come in. And I go, okay, that'll play for that scene. And so I made maybe 8 or 9 themes, and then like I'm going to place it here. I'm going to place it here.
Well, you want to have reoccurring motifs throughout. Yeah.
Yes, and I want it to be, again, hummable. So some of them are based on songs that I actually haven't released in a vocal form yet. Some of them are based on songs I have, and some of them just aren't ever going to be a vocal version. It's just the film score version. So I did the score, did the color grading, did all that stuff, and then I watched it and I said, oh, I need to film a couple inserts. Inserts or pickups. And that's when a filmmaker watches their movie and they say, oh, this is not quite connecting here.
There's a little hole here, a little gap. We need a little bit of information to bridge that gap.
Exactly, and that happens on just about every movie. Even the movies you go to the theater to see, there has been a pickup done, months later. Return of the Jedi, there was a pickup done by the sound guy, Ben Burt. They did it right at Lucasfilm in front of a blue screen. I think it's when Han Solo goes into the bunker. And he's like, stop, you rebel scum. And they shot that. They say, we're missing this scene. Okay, Ben Burt, go film it. He filmed it in front of a blue screen. So I filmed a lot of my stuff in front of a blue screen because I didn't have the outdoors same settings that I had before. So what I would do is I would take frames or stills from the footage I had shot before and use those as my background.
How does that inform how you're going to approach filming the next one?
So that's a great question.
Because I would think, learning from that, I need to make sure I get a still, a wide shot of this scene without me in it, just in case I need to go back and insert myself later and I can't, and the weather has changed and I can't, now there's snow on the ground and I can't find this particular hallway.
Exactly. Winter is really the deciding factor in, how you're going to produce it. So. But you're right. I've gotten into the habit of I'll take a still, or I like to call them, I don't know if they actually call them plates, but I call them plates. And I'll get a plate for the background, and then I'll shoot my scene. So later on, I'm able to shoot these inserts and pickups and everything like that. I try not to use computer-generated backgrounds. I try to keep it like photographic, and I know it might not look as slick, but there's an old rickety charm to it, like the rear projection. That used to be done, or the sodium vapor that Walt Disney
And that
used
is
to.
part of the charm of it. So often I myself will talk myself out of using green screen or filming something at all. Oh, it's too dark and it's going to be grainy.
Yeah.
Oh, instead of just doing it.
Right.
And that's where I really applaud you, is that you just did it.
Thank you.
And here is a movie that's an hour and 11 minutes long, and it is a full-length, independently produced on I'm sure, a very meager budget.
$500.
$500?
If I can say on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you should definitely be applauded for
Thank you.
the whole thing. It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
And so tell me a little bit more about the plot itself. And,
Sure.
And you said you originally had a television show that you were doing in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So you got your roots here on local cable television.
That's right.
Too.
That's right.
And so tell us a little bit of the plot, the journey here.
Sure, journey in the film.
Oh, in the film, yeah.
In the film. Okay, so what happens is it starts with Dave and I, and this is Dave in his current state. And we're good friends, and that gets established hopefully in a show not tell way. That's very important in film as well. And we're going for a walk, and something happens to him, and he ends up like this. So at first we're trying to work through it, like, okay, we can work with this. We can modify your life, and figure out a way to work with it. And eventually I have an invention. It's called the transmogrifier. You'll see in the film. And it can change matter into another form.
But it's never been done on a living form.
That's right. It only works on non-carbon life forms.
Right.
And so as he tells me in the film, I'm a rock, I'm not living, but he's a living rock. So I convince him. Anyhow, that backfires, and I end up. It's kind of like a body time travel, and I end up as an old man. Now in the TV version, there's some lines Dave asked me about his future, what it's going to be like. I took those out so that I'd have a little more leeway in the sequel.
There you go.
And you don't want to give away any spoilers. So then they get it repaired by this very funny. A lot of people, family members, I showed the movie. Their favorite part was the VCR repairman.
He's great.
Which is, I'm glad to hear, because at the time I was, I don't know about this. And anyhow, this machine transports us to an enchanted forest, which we never say where it is, but I think it's like off the coast. I like to think it's off the coast of like Nova Scotia. It's near New England, because there's not a lot of movies that take place near New England that are fantasy. Yeah, there's a ton, but there's not a lot of fantasies. So we end up in this enchanted wood. We meet a fairy, and I may as well just set up the
clip. We've got a great clip.
So we meet a fairy, and Dave says, hey, ask her about, maybe she can change me back, because we're in the magical land. Maybe it could happen. And I do, and the fairies inform us in kind of an intercut scene. Dave goes to this ancient fairy library, and I'm eating with the fairy, lead fairy, who is played by my wife before we got married. So there's this connection there. Our first dinner together on screen. And they tell us there's some old books, but they got stolen by the Sasquatch, they just love trouble. Mm-hmm. And the fairies sent some Marines or some kind of squad to go in and get those. They never came back. So they're asking, if you get those books, you can have the one that has the solution inside. So in this scene, we have gone into this Sasquatch temple or shrine, and we're stealing those books back. And here it is.
I think we're in the clear.
What?
I think we're in the clear.
I think we're in the clear.
That is a chase scene
It is.
for the world to enjoy.
Yes.
It's epic. Where are those steps that go up to nowhere? Where actually did you actually film?
Right. So that was at Madame Sherry's castle in New Hampshire, not in Keene. I think it's in Chesterfield, New Hampshire.
Really beautiful.
It's gorgeous. This lady named Madame Sherry, I think she was a bit of an eccentric, so, but I think it burned down. And that's where I filmed that stuff. And one thing I love about that scene, I like the music.
Yeah.
But also I love that we don't see the Sasquatch, because it's like in our, we hear it. We don't see it.
It's always behind you.
Yes.
Just out of
Yes, exactly.
view.
Just out of view until I can talk to Stan.
Just out of budget.
Right. Until I can talk to Stan Winston or anybody at ILM. It's a veiled thing. You'll see in the film. It's a veiled type of monster. I did have a model, and there's footage of a model, but it wasn't quite elusive
like
enough.
a stop motion sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's what later in the film there's a little bit of that,
There is.
but it's done not in a direct way. Yeah.
Well, for those of you who do want to see O Melodious Side 1,
Yeah. Oh Melodious Movie, Side 1.
We
Yep.
will be premiering it on WMCT-TV, so hope you check it out.
Yeah.
And where else can people see it?
So it's going to be on a lot of
Streaming platforms, right?
It's going to be on a lot of New England public access stations, but it's also going to be, well, the best place for you to watch it would be on WMCT, of course.
Obviously.
It's the flagship station. That's going to be on June 24th, I think at 7 p.m.
Yep.
So, not too late for the little ones. And if you don't want to watch the news now, which I know I don't, then it might be something fun to watch to escape. It's going to be on a streaming platform called VHX. And there will be a 60-minute version on there. Then on WMCT, there's going to be a 71-minute version with some extra, there's a little extra bit at the end that you won't get in the...
It's a lot of fun. It's a romp, and you are supporting, just by watching, a local community creator. And I'm hoping we can find more community creators, because I know they're here in Marlborough.
They're out there.
They're just hiding under rocks.
They are.
Yeah. What sort of advice would you have to someone who either wants to make music or make film or just dip their toe into something creative that they've been hesitant to do so? Well, what advice would you give them?
I would say run headfirst into it. Run headfirst into it. Don't worry about making it for an audience yet.
Make it for yourself.
Yes, make it for yourself at first. If you want to give it to an audience, candy coat it. I like to say, make what you like and then put a little candy on top, and then you can sell it. You can always keep a version that you like more to yourself, but you got to enjoy it. You got to have a passion for it, because if you don't, it's going to show through. It's going to show through, and you might be a little disappointed. But run head first. Figure out what you like.
I think there are so many niche markets now, and we find that there's so much media to consume. Don't be afraid to create for yourself, because there are more people out there with your same comic or dramatic sensibilities and taste in music and taste in style that might align with you exactly, that you wouldn't even know. So yeah, be true to yourself and create the art that matters to you.
Yeah, do your thing, because there's no one like you, although you could be, try to imitate somebody else. You can have influences from other folks, but, don't be a carbon copy, because this is insane, but I always think at the end of my life, what am I going to look back on and be really, really glad I did? And pretending, to be somebody else or doing somebody else's work or trying to copy somebody else's art is just not what I want to look back on.
No. Zach, it's been really terrific having you here in the studio once again. Don't be a stranger.
I will not.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of Marlborough Minute. Thank you for watching.